Good morning, good evening, namaste, hola, bonjour, and marapan. This is Namya Joshi, your host for the day. Welcome to episode 27 of the podcast Each One Teach 10, an amazing world of STEM, an inspiring venture where we'll be discussing that STEM is a part of every day for every kid. We all will learn together how to build a STEM culture. Well, let's invite our guest for today, who is Jennifer Casa-Todd, a wife, mom, and a teacher librarian, and also a former literacy consultant. Jennifer holds a master's in education and digital technologies from Ontario Tech University with a specialization in social media, digital citizenship, and education. She is also a Google certified trainer and an innovator, an Ontario Google Educator Group leader, an executive member of the International Society of an Education, Library PLN. It's great to have you here, Jennifer. How are you doing today?
I am doing wonderfully. Thank you. I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. So, before we start with a round of questions, can you please tell us more about yourself to our audience waiting here?
Absolutely. Well, thank you for that lovely introduction. There's not much more to add on that, except that I am very much enjoying my role as mom and teacher librarian here in Ontario. What I love about that role is the ability to support both students and teachers in a school. Prior to that, I was the literacy consultant, and as much as I really enjoyed working with teachers from across my district, we have 108 schools. I really missed working directly with students. And so this role, the teacher librarian role, is very much like what I did at the district level, but at the school. So um, keeping very busy with some of the extra things, especially the Google Educator Group here in Ontario, and then doing some work with the UST Librarians Group, which is now no longer. So, looking for other opportunities to connect globally with teachers and teacher librarians.
That's so great to hear. And you're a very inspiring personality for me because you're doing so much and very well for the society. And that's really an inspiration for everybody watching us here.
Well, thank you. And likewise, Miss, you have been an inspiration to many because you have dedicated your life to social media and technology for good. So that's exactly one of the things that I love, and all of my passion is around supporting and celebrating students who are as awesome as you are.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. So, what is the story behind that made you dedicate your energy in social media education?
For sure. So it really began many years ago when my daughter was asked at a job interview, "What social media are you on, and what will I learn about you if I go there?" And I started to recognize that I hadn't really supported her as a mom. And then when I thought about it, I realized that as an educator, I continued to tell kids what not to do and really didn't emphasize what they could and should do with social media. And then at around the same time, I met someone named George Couros, and his opinion or his definition of digital leadership was to use the vast reach of technology and social media to improve the lives, well-being, and circumstances of others. And I thought, oh my goodness, that is such a unique perspective, because mostly adults, when they say kids these days, it's a very negative connotation. And so when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at certainly change. So I started to notice all around me really inspiring young people who were using technology and social media to make the world a better place. Then I started to notice that there were some teachers who were embracing social media and education and role modeling for kids. And the more I did research, the more I realized this was not the norm. That many teachers are afraid of bringing in technology and social media into the classroom. With COVID, obviously, many teachers have sort of moved a little bit, but really that was the beginning for me. I really want to spread a message that social media can be used positively. And I certainly wanted to celebrate and shine a light on the young people as well as the teachers who were making a positive difference using social media.
That's so great to hear, Jennifer. And I think it is very vital to know how to use social media properly because everything has like the pros and cons to it. But if we go towards the pros and we understand how we could use tech for good, that could be the best, probably the best thing that we could learn in our lives because we should know how to use anything for the good. And using the technology, social media, in a positive way could actually, like you said, make a world a better place.
Absolutely. Very well said.
Thank you. So, can you also tell us about social media and your two new books, Raising Digital Leaders and Aubrey Bright, and the stories that connect us?
Absolutely. So I had this newfound sort of understanding and passion. At the same time, I was doing my master's in education with a specialization in social media. I recognized very few classrooms were using social media, and yet the teachers in the classrooms that were using social media were doing so just so beautifully. And I did have a blog, and I was writing about some of these experiences in my blog, but I really felt compelled to pull them all together into one book, which is Social Media. So if you've never read it, or what social media basically is a guidebook, so to speak. It shares stories and experiences and celebrates students who are making a positive difference in the world. And so that's social media. And then soon after, I was invited to do workshops and keynotes and some parent talks. And many of the parents said, "Well, can I read social media?" And I said, "Well, not really. It's really more geared towards teachers in the classroom." So that planted a seed in me for the idea to create a book that would be how parents can navigate technology in their families. So, with the same idea, here are some inspiring kids. Here are some parent vignettes. And, let's talk about social media. Let's talk about technology. Let's talk about the impact it's having on our families in a negative and a positive way. And then let's move forward with strategies to support our kids and one another. So, and that just came out this summer. And I'm just so excited to be able to have, I just like social media as a resource for teachers. I'm so excited to be able to offer a resource to parents. And then Aubrey Bright in Stories That Connect Us is also, I feel like everything I do is along the same lines. It is a children's story. And the way it came about is beautiful. My very good friend Lee Castle, who founded the Digital Human Library and co-founded the Global Education Student Chat, which we need to talk. We need you to be a part of that. But anyway, so we got together and we've always really wanted to co-author a book. One of my students at my school, a beautiful artist, I kept looking at her art and going, "Oh my goodness, Sahar, you need to be doing something special with your art." She's actually in post-secondary pursuing art right now, but her lifelong dream was to write a children's book. And so we thought, "Oh my goodness, we would like to write a book anyway." And so Aubrey Bright was born. It is a story about a young girl and her relationship with her grandmother and the stories that her grandmother tells. And then it's layered upon today with using a tablet for storytelling. And so some really important messages about digital leadership and digital citizenship and the power that stories have to connect us. And we're currently working on the second book, which is Aubrey Bright in the Games We Play, which is going to focus more on online gaming. So again, all three of those books really seem to be anchored in the same idea, and that is to support and celebrate how technology can be used for good, and also to have conversations about how we can seek balance when it isn't necessarily used that way.
That's amazing and really significant that you're talking about how parents can also navigate technology in the family, because sometimes you might notice that they're the ones who are telling us not to use certain devices and not to go on social media platforms. But I think the students can understand and the children can understand that how we could use that for good, but also at the same time we need to also we have the power to convince the parents that it's not that your child is always using technology for just wasting time on YouTube and just chatting with somebody, but it could also be for creating an impact in somebody's life and giving out better to the world by sharing your venture that you're creating. So I think I totally agree that also telling the family members and your parents that how we could use technology is very vital and how we could create an impact in their lives as well. And that was like a lovely book that you've written about a grandmother telling stories to her to her granddaughter about some of her experiences and then using tablets these days. So that kind of reminded me of the past and the present, that how we used to listen, first of all in education in India was just oral. It was like the Gurukul system of education. That was just oral. We had nothing written, and now we've come to the world where living in the technology, and we have so much of gaming coming in the education. We're using laptops like during COVID-19 and many more things. So yeah, I think the five competencies of the digital citizenship matter a lot when we're living in this world where we're using technology everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Again, beautifully said. Probably more articulate than me at this time.
Oh, thank you so much, but you are amazing, really.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, so how are you showing students that they can use technology and social media to make a positive difference in someone's life today?
Well, I think the most important thing is that I keep it at the forefront of everything that I do. So if you truly, and again, I love Wayne Dwyer's quotation, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So if you truly believe that there is opportunity there, then you open yourself up for those opportunities and you listen for those opportunities. And the way I have done it from the beginning, in my role, not just as a district leader, but certainly now as a teacher librarian, is I use social media to learn and share learning and to make a positive difference in my own circle. And so when I connect with organizations that I see are worthwhile, I connect my students to those organizations because I really believe it's important to be a media mentor for kids. And so for example, I mean, we have I have a million examples, but this past year, I connected our student council club to a youth led organization or youth created organization called Impact Without Contact. They noticed that seniors were really struggling, frontline workers were not being supported enough. And so their organization was completely dedicated to trying to make a positive difference in the lives of seniors and frontline workers, and also youth in shelters. And so when I connected our students, we engaged in letter writing campaigns, we engaged in opportunities to create a video that we could send to local hospitals. We got our kids to write emails to kids in youth shelters. And so, in these ways, just connecting kids to these organizations and being explicit about how we can make a positive difference, not just offline, but online, I think goes a long, long way.
Yeah, so that's pretty amazing for me again, because you're talking about like opportunity. So that just reminded me of a quote that I had like recently read, that opportunities are like sunrises. If you wait too long, you miss them. So it is very vital that we understand that wherever we get an opportunity, we should take that, because we should let our opportunity be ours and not just let that go, because they aren't coming all the time. You need to try to grab and understand what is an opportunity for you and how you could take it. And you also give an opportunity to your children that they could learn from those youth-led organizations, and that helps them to learn different skills that they could use in their upcoming lives. And the youth-led organizations like made me realize and also made me remember that like youth here has the power to change the world. So if we motivate them, we give them more opportunities. Like youth coming in different fields can help us to shape a better future.
I love that quotation about opportunities. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. So, Jennifer, I have like a kind of surprise question for you. That what is your favorite place to visit?
Oh my goodness, what is my favorite place to visit? I have to say, my family is from Italy. My parents emigrated from Italy before I was born. And when I was in university, I went back to Italy to visit and to see my parents' hometown. Then I went again with my husband, and then I went again with my kids. And so I have to say, Italy continues to call me. I studied Italian in university, so I get to go and practice my Italian there. And I just find it's just such a beautiful place filled with so much history and culture and beauty. So I have to say Italy.
Oh, that's so great to hear. And I think Italy is also famous for its pizzas, right?
And pasta, yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
pasta as well. Like I've tried an Italian pasta like almost everywhere I go, and that's my favorite thing to eat because it's
Mine,
simply
mine
amazing.
too, my friend, mine too.
So, are there any tips that you would like to give for a teacher to build a lesson plan for digital leadership, learning using STEM?
Absolutely. So STEM is so all encompassing. I was working with science teachers and geography teachers and religion teachers using design thinking, for example. And in every case, we were like, what problem do we want to solve? And then what tools are you going to use to build the problem or to solve the problems? You need to empathize and ideate. So I love that structure. It's very open. I can share with you a presentation that I have that you can include in your show notes about design thinking. But really, what I think you can do in any aspect, whether you're working with Minecraft DDU or whether you're coding, is to think about digital leadership. And so I've also created a framework using the words lead, LEAD. So L is learn and share learning, E is empathy and perspective, A is awareness, and D is digital role modeling. So let's take this example again of when I was working with a science teacher. I wanted my kids to know that they can use technology and social media to learn and share learning. And so when I would seek resources from a variety of sources, including Twitter, including right things that I have seen online, and I explicitly tell them about that. I also connected with other classes so they see that we can learn from one another. And I know you had Mary Alice Curran on here not too long ago. Her son said, I want to learn about the world with the world. And so that's really the philosophy around learning, the L. E is empathy and perspective. And so I leveraged my network in order to get our students prototypes that they created to get peer feedback from people in other places around the world. We used in this particular case it was Vancouver and Malaysia, and the students needed to have empathy when they were responding to one another. I gave them sentence starters so that they could agree with some of the things that the kids said, build upon the ideas of others, and also disagree. And that's something that we really need to keep in mind, right? That we have to help students and one another disagree respectfully online. The other is where. So, what are some of the things we needed to be aware of? Well, in this particular case, it was copyright. It was not sharing personal information when we connected with these classes. So, media literacy is really what aware is. And I also think it's really important that we bring in digital role models. So, whenever possible, and I have tons of lists of students who inspire. So, for example, in this project, we I brought in Wizard and Wonder, Ananya, who have created the Sustainable Development Goals for Children, because I really, really want my students to see themselves as digital role models, and I want them to experience other students in the world who are trying to make a difference. And so in this particular case, it was the UN Sustainable Development Goals, food insecurity. There's Joshua's heart. There is Chloe Cares. There are a bunch of students that we could bring into our classrooms in order to show them that they can make a powerful difference. And next time I use Minecraft EDU, I'm bringing you in.
Thank you so much. That'll be an honor. Right, and I completely love your idea about lead, that is learn from L, that's learn and share, E for empathy, A for awareness, and D for digital role modeling. So, like you said, it is very important to learn about the world with the world, and also agree to disagree respectfully online, because if we keep on agreeing all the time, we won't know what we want. We'll just agree to somebody without putting forward our own thought. So it is very important to learn how we can agree to disagree, and being aware online is as well as very important. And the UNSDG goals need to be accomplished so that we can bring up student role models, like you said, Ayush and Nanya, and many more who are also helping to shape the world.
Precisely. I love that.
Thank you. So before we sign off, we would love to know that where can we find you online, Jennifer?
Absolutely. So you can find me on Instagram or Twitter at Casa-Todd. I would love for anyone listening to connect with the Global Education Student Chat. That is a Twitter chat that is led by students for students. And you can find us at Global EDSS Chat on Twitter and Instagram. So love that. I blog at jcasatodd.com, and you can reach me if you need to contact me through there, if you're interested in having me come and speak, or interested in learning more about my books, or just interested in chatting. So
Thank you so much for that. And before we sign off, we would love to have a message from you for the audience watching us live.
absolutely. I would like to say, no matter how old you are, do not underestimate the power you have to make a difference in the world. Not maybe not the big world, but definitely the world of someone else, or the big world. So never underestimate your power, because your voice, your actions, they can be very, very powerful.
I agree, because age is never a barrier to change the world, and always every voice matters. So thank you so much, Jennifer, for giving your precious time to us and sharing your wonderful thoughts that you have to our audience. It was lovely talking to you today.
It was so lovely to talk to you as well. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. So, thank you everybody for tuning in today and listening to this episode. I'll see you in the next one. Till then, each one teach 10. Have a nice day.